Hey there, everybody in the FFBE Global Facebook group and on YouTube. Welcome to this week's Ask an Old Mog video. And with this one, we've got another collab going on. Seems like we've been getting a lot of collabs going on. And as always, with a new collab means new players in the game or players returning to the game. And some of them have questions that I think are worth talking about, especially for newer players. Because there's a lot of things in this game, especially if you've been taking some time off or are brand new, that are just like, what do I do with this thing, or how do I get this item, or how do I do such and such thing? And I thought it'd be good to talk about it. So I went through the group's posts and I found some questions that I thought were good, and here we go. So we'll take a look now. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the game up and look at our first question. Our first question comes from Curtis. I've just come back after a year away. I don't know what you use Insignias for that are, for example, FFBE 5. Does that mean I only use these on Final Fantasy 5 characters? So a really good question. So the answer to that is that all Neovision's characters and Neovision's Awakened units have skills that can be upgraded, and you use their unique Insignias to awaken their skills. So some units are going to be using Insignias that are related to the same series that they're in, and some are going to use kind of generic ones, and it just depends. But you're also going to use Insignias to upgrade units' Chronicle weapons. We're going to take a look at this using Tifa as an example, because she's got some stuff that I have not done yet. So if you go into click on the unit and go to the Neovisions menu, click on Brave Ability Enhancement, that's going to take you to their skills. And I've got a skill here, Star Shower, that I have not fully awakened. So you're going to click on Star Shower, and you're going to see that one of the abilities, or one of the materials to do this, is these Brave Insignias. And notice it's got Cloud's picture on it, not Tifa's picture. So it's like, why am I using Cloud? It's because she was released. She's just using the Final Fantasy 7, basically, those Insignias, and it has Cloud's picture on it because, everybody loves Cloud, right? Now, if you're not sure where to get these, you can click on the magnifying glass, and it'll tell you can get these from events or challenges. Now, it shows this Guardians of the Planet challenge. This is no longer where you get these, and I really wish they would upgrade these or update these to be more current. We're going to go ahead and click on yes. It's going to take us to the Vortex. We're going to go all the way over to challenges and scroll down to where it says Chronicle Battle for Final Fantasy 7. And where is it? I think I passed it. Here we go. Final Fantasy 7 Remake. If you click on it, it's going to show us two different battles we can do, and notice that same Cloud insignia picture is there. We can get these insignias from both of these, and this is where we're going to get the materials to upgrade the Chronicle weapons and Chronicle items for Final Fantasy 7. So that is where you will grab those, and you can use those to make really strong weapons and upgrade your unit's abilities to max them out completely. So very good question, and make sure you can farm those. Now, what's neat about these is you're going to get more insignias by taking units from that game, and the higher EX level you have, the more you're going to get. So it'll take you less time to grind these out, the more Final Fantasy 7 units you bring. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of like a walk down memory lane, maybe, or if you're playing the remake, a less far back memory lane, to try and get those and bring the fun Final Fantasy 7 units. And these aren't too difficult. I feel like I knocked these out like the day they came out, like within an hour or so, and that was not even playing that hard. So yeah, definitely want to do those. Good question, Curtis. The next question that we've got, all right, comes from Joshua. I need some help. I've defeated up to level 400 difficulty for some monsters, but then on other monsters that are maybe even lower difficulty, 300, I can barely make a dent, maybe 2 or 3%, because they're unbreakable. Is the key unmitigated damage? Also, how do you stack LB damage? Just a little advice, please. Really good set of questions here. The answer, of course, is that it's kind of complicated, but I'm going to go back to my units to kind of demonstrate some of this. So when you are putting together a team and you're going after a specific boss, you really can't rely on only one strategy, especially at higher level difficulties. One strategy, one type of units, one type of equipment is only going to go so far for you, and you want a wide range of stuff, a wide range of units, tactics, and builds to create the right team for each fight. You might need lots of elemental resistance, or you might need ailment resistance, or you might need, certain types of killers. And because of the way some bosses are built, even 300 difficulty fights can be harder than the 400s just based on the types of defenses and defensive abilities that the boss has. Like sometimes their stats are different, or sometimes they use, you know, buffs that can't be dispelled, or they're immune to certain types of damage. So it just depends on the trial. But there are some things that you can use to your advantage and want to pay attention to. So you want to pay attention to all the following. The boss's innate elemental weaknesses, what enemy type they are, can you use breaks? You know, you were specifically talking about the Dragon Quest bosses that cannot have defense and spirit breaks, and so we're going to talk about that. Possible field effects. Field effects are a relatively new thing that came in the game that you can use to kind of create kind of like an area effect boost to your damage, and that's a good thing you want to pay attention to. Stacking or consecutive use skills. So LB damage for certain units gets stronger the more you use their LB, or some skills do that too. We're going to talk about that. And then finally, the overall power or the modifier of each of your abilities. So every trial being unique, you're going to want to gear for those things. Now, you can do that using abilities, you can do that using materia, you can use that using specific units. You can do all kinds of things to try and help you do that. I'm going to take a look at Sephiroth here, for example, and I'm going to go into his details pane. And on his details pane, I see that he's, you know, because of the way I have him geared, he's got 300% human killer, 200% reaper, 75% demon, maxed out LB damage. You know, I'm building him for what I want him to be able to do. I wasn't going after a specific trial or anything like that when I built him. I just kind of slapped some stuff on him. But it's not difficult to get to, you know, Reaper and Human Killer on Sephiroth because he's naturally good at it. So for a boss that is a human or is a Reaper, you know, bringing him is going to be good. Especially if they are weak to Sephiroth's innate elemental attack, which is dark damage. So that's very important to pay attention to. If an enemy is strong against dark, you don't want to bring Sephiroth, or maybe you do want to bring Sephiroth and don't care because Sephiroth is just that good, or you have the ability to imperil or weaken their resistance to dark attacks. So that's a good thing, and in good news, Sephiroth can do that. So again, you're wanting to try and bring, you know, certain bring the right tool to the right job, basically. And paying attention to how units are built is going to help you do that. Also knowing what the enemy can do by checking them out on the wiki sometimes is good. Sometimes the wiki's not always up to date, especially if you're like on the first couple days of an event, so that can be hard. But for all the existing trials in the game that have been around for more than a week, you know, the details of what that boss has in its skill set and its defenses are going to be on the wiki, and you want to check that out to try and make sure you're honing in on the right types of gear and builds and units that are going to do what you want. Now, in the case that you've got a boss that you cannot break with you know, breaks or something like that, you want to try and do the opposite. You want to boost yourself up as much as you possibly can by stacking together all these neat things. All the things we already talked about: killer materials and weapons and abilities. You also want to bring units that have good stat buffs. Most modern units have their own innate stat buffs. So like Sephiroth can boost his own attack, Angela can boost her own magic, and that's good, especially if you don't have the ability to fit in a dedicated buffer. But units like Cetra Descendant Aerith, White Dragon Ling, they can be really good to boost your stats. You know, Lord of the Seas Nicole's another really good one for water themed fights. So you want to do that. You want to bring things that boost your damage. A lot of units have abilities to boost their limit burst damage or boost the modifier of their skills using cooldowns. So that's like kind of number 2 and 4 here. So you want to pay attention to units that can do that. You know, Sephiroth has a stacking LB damage if he uses his ability more than once, so that's good. Or Duran, for example, has an ability that he increases his modifier of his LB and boosts LB damage after you use his limit burst one time, so that gets really important. But there are also just units that have skills, like Yoshikiri, for example, has a skill that just boosts the LB damage of everybody on your team, so that's important. Doing everything you can to add more to your stats. Imbuing elements. So if that boss has a weakness to ice and you can imbue yourself with ice, and Yoshikiri is another good example of that, you know, you can do that and it's going to make you do more damage. Amplify that elemental damage. Yoshikiri, again, he can apply a imperil to ice, imbue to ice, and Amplify to ice using one skill. He's very efficient at that, doing that for ice or water damage. So Amplify skills are somewhat new to the game, but they add to your overall elemental damage a lot. And then finally, killer buff skills. Using skills that are going to apply a buff to your party to make them do more damage against certain enemy types. Louise is really good at that. She can put it on herself, and then somebody can spread it around. Mastermind Zon can spread it around. White Dragon Ling can do that. Aerith, Aerith can do that for certain enemy types. The one that I ended up using for the Dragon Quest bosses was, what is her name? I can tell you because I still have her in my party. Where is she? Oh, I thought I had her in my party. Yeah, I do. Eurisha. So I used Eurisha to do that for the Dragon Quest bosses because she could do bonuses against dragons and bonuses against demons, and that's a useful thing. So yeah, you want to focus on trying to boost yourself if you can't break the enemy down. So that's important. The second part to your question, though, had to do with stacking. So some skills in Limit Burst get stronger the more time you use them. And so really common examples of this are going to be units that I've got on my screen right here. Kryla is the exception, so don't pay attention to her. But Sephiroth, Legendary Hero Sephiroth, Avalanche's Tifa, Lara Croft, Neovision, Angela, they all have Limit Burst that stack. They get stronger the more times you use them. Sephiroth and Tifa cap out after 2. Lara caps out after 2. Angela goes up to 6, I believe, times you can stack it. And so it's just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger the more time you use it. But the hard part is that if you don't do a certain set of circumstances, you're going to lose your stack. So if you use there's a couple of things you can do that make your stacks go away. So as long as you either use the Limit Burst or ability again, you're going to get more stacks that way. You'll maintain your stacks. If you use any other ability, spell, esper, item, anything else, you're going to maintain your stacks but not gain any more stacks, and that's sometimes sufficient, especially for Sephiroth. He only needs to use his Limit Burst one time and then he's maxed out. Tifa's the same way. And then not use normal attacks or guard. There is an exception to this. Some units like Sephiroth, like Tifa, like Lara, like Angela have an ability in their skill set that converts their normal attack into an ability. So let's take a look at Sephiroth here, for example. When you look at his special, he's got this like sword trait here, and it's called Do You Dream of Me. It changes normal attack into Do You Dream of Me, which is an ability, and it just does damage and fills his LB. So that is not considered a normal attack. So with Sephiroth, you can actually just tap on him normally. He can punch the boss, as it's commonly referred to, just using your normal attack. Normal attack, it's not really a normal attack. It doesn't make you lose stacks because it's an ability. So you want to pay attention, but a lot of modern units have this like convert normal attack into something else trait. And so as long as they have that, you can use normal attack. You can use their normal attack, just tap on them. Just don't guard with them. As long as you don't guard, you're pretty much always going to maintain the stacks of their LB, and you're just going to keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger. But the real trick to that is you just have to be able to fill their LB gauge numerous times. For Sephiroth, that's really easy. He has Warring Spirit, so he can use it on turn 1, turn 2, he can use his Magnus ability, and then turn 3, he's ready to go again if you need to. Tifa's the same way. Lara is sort of the same way, in that she can fill her LB gauge just by using her normal attack, which is actually an ability that fills her LB gauge. Angela, sorry, she's an exception to the rule. You've got to fill her up with other skills to make sure that she can use it as many times as you can, especially since she is a trance burster, not a roll shifter. So yeah, there's that. Stacking LBs and damage. Okay. So we've gotten through a couple of questions, and now we're into the newest part of our segment, which is Sharky Suggests. And Sharky is here with us today. Sharky is feeling a little more adventurous after the first appearance, and has some advice for the game. Sharky, you want to come out and talk?
Hi, everybody. Unless you're swimming with resources, don't awaken your units, skills, or abilities, especially using rare or uncommon resources like Omniprisms, Red Pearls, Unit of Choice tickets, or STMI Moogle tickets.
Thank you for that tip. You know, those resources are rare and not available all the time for you to use them, so it's good to hang on to them as long as you can, unless you just have tons and tons and tons of them. Now, I'm guilty of this. I've used unit of choice tickets and Omni Prisms before to try and get a unit to EX plus 3 if it's a Neo Visions Awaken unit. For some reason I want them and I'm going to do that, so I've done it. But I also have been playing long enough that I have tons and tons of those around. You know, I think at one point I had 15 Omni Prisms just sitting there and I wasn't using them, and if you don't have them, or if you don't use them, you're going to lose them. You don't really lose them, but you're not getting any benefit out of them if they're just sitting there. Same thing with STMR removal tickets, unit of choice tickets. Red pearls are a little harder to come by because it actually requires you to pull and, you know, get them from units that you just are willing to break down. But, you know, don't just awaken everything just because you have the ability to do it. Like, you know, maybe wait till you need to, especially if you're just now starting out. You know, save those resources for a little while, and only awaken units are going to be really useful to you, or you just really love for one reason or another. Thank you for the tip, Sharky.
Have a good day.
All right, and that's really it that I have for right now. So hopefully those are helpful for you. Wanted to just go over one last thing here, and that is that I'm not going to be putting out a video next Friday. Next Friday being Christmas Eve. I'm going to be busy doing stuff in my personal life, doing stuff with my family, and I'm not going to be putting out a video that day. But we will be back in as soon as I can the next following week with hopefully new information, new content about whatever is current in the game. We're really looking forward to next week in the game. I'm really hopeful that we get a cool Clash of Wills unit, and that the winter units are upgraded as well with hopefully new EX buffs and abilities. I'm really looking forward to Kryla. I really like Kryla as a unit. I hope that they give her some attention. And I also already have EX plus 3 Eldrin, and I'm really hoping that they give EX plus 3 Eldrin something neat. Hopefully giving him something for Clash of Wills. You know, we're hoping. And I'm really looking forward to that. So if you have a question and you would like it to see it discussed in the next video, whenever that is, probably 2 weeks from now, please drop a comment on the Facebook post or on the YouTube page, and I'd be happy to look into that more in depth and get into it. And in fact, if a question comes up, you know, midweek, I know I always put these videos out on Friday, but if a question comes up midweek that I can just answer really quickly in a video or a post or something like that, I will. I'm happy to do that, especially knowing that we're going into the holiday week next week, you know, and then I'm not planning on putting out a video on Christmas Eve. You know, Sharky needs a break every now and then. So, yeah, if a question comes up, I'll try to put that out there and try and help the group out. But in the meantime, have a good evening and a pleasant weekend and a pleasant tomorrow and a pleasant couple of weeks. And if I don't see you between now and then, for those of you who are into that kind of thing, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and all the things that you do. Take care.